Hey everyone, how's it going? It's a beautiful Friday evening before the long weekend here in the US. I just finished editing this video. I shot this video with two people from Prodigy Finance who I had a blast doing meetups and workshops in India. If you haven't checked those videos out, I'm going to link in the description as well. Just wanted to let you know that I have done a bunch of videos with Prodigy before, and it's a company which I support. I'm going to leave the registration link in the description. If you want a loan code, you can go and check them out. But yeah, enjoy this video. It's a really interesting one just to see how a company works and how employees represent that company. So I hope you enjoy it, and let me know if you have any questions.
Hey everyone, welcome to another video. I'm here with Mike, who's the Operation Service Leader at Prodigy Finance team. I am here with Pritish, whom you might have seen in previous videos. Pritish works with the business development team out of India. I had a couple of questions for them in terms of international students, how international students' journey goes, and they chimed in, they sat down, and I'm really glad that we are doing this. Pritish, do you want to talk a little bit about Prodigy Finance, what it does, and then we can hand over to Mike and see what happens in Cape Town.
So as you know, Parth, we're a leading fintech player that specializes in student loans. If I had to cut the long story short and elevator pitch it to you in 30 seconds or less, if you're going to a top-ranked school around the world, a master's program, we come and we fund you in 30 minutes or less. The only prerequisite to a Prodigy Finance education loan is you attending a top-ranked program around the world. And competitive interest rates. So it's very student-friendly. It's very dynamic, and we offer up to 100% cost of attendance for most of our disciplines and programs across the world. What definitely makes us different is that our story stems out from someone who was doing the student abroad journey around 12 years ago in the year 2007. And we understand the nitty-gritties on what it is like to fund your education, because we understand that's the second most important thing, or the other side of the coin, when it comes to actually going abroad. I'm going to let Mike chat a bit more about how it goes down there.
Obviously, it's a very long journey for students. They go through their lower education, and then you go through your tertiary education, and then you go for your high level education. And we support you right from the day one. So that's the start of your application, moving over to the new country, helping you settle in, and then obviously go right through your studies, sending your funds over, and then supporting you right after you finish your studies. If you need help with an internship, or we can point you in the right direction, and then you're our customer for the next 15 or 20 years. So the relationship is quite long and hopefully very fruitful.
I have a couple of questions here for you. Okay. And these questions have been asked by people who we met on these workshops. So if you do not know, we are doing workshops. We did workshops in Bangalore, Hyderabad. We did one in Mumbai, and we're doing one today in Pune. Why should one trust Prodigy?
Great question, tough question. Prodigy's been around for quite some time now. We're quite established. There's a couple reasons that I would like to touch on. We have a great relationship with the schools. That's number one. So if you actually are on the school's website and you processing your admit letter, you might see Prodigy Finance's logo as one of the supported lenders.
Right.
And that's very important, so you can know that we're recognized and we have a good relationship with the school. Even after you finish studying, what we sometimes do is a student that really, really likes our company and super involved and wants to get more involved, you can actually become a student ambassador. And then you'll deal with future students coming in looking for funding. So as a student ambassador, we might ask you to be on campus, meet the potential students coming through, go to these events as well, and answer questions so they actually can meet somebody who's taken a loan with Prodigy Finance. Those are the two big ones, I think. And then the last one, why trust Prodigy Finance? Our mission is to help people go study abroad. And that was our CEO, our founder. He had that issue at the beginning. He didn't have funding. And it was his dream to help other people get the funding and make things easier. And we're still doing that to this day, 10 years later.
To resonate with what Michael said, I think from a business standpoint of view, as he said, we've been in operations for 12 years. The biggest financial institutions in the world invest in us and trust us. So if you take Goldman Sachs, Deutsche Bank, just last year we raised about $1 billion. So it's quite an indicator that this model works. It's a very different market, and there are very few fintech players out there that are solving this problem. And Prodigy, I would say, is one of the early stage companies that set out to do this journey.
Thank you guys for that answer. Just the reason why I asked is because, again, Prodigy is an outside company. There's a thing where Indian people do not trust or have issues with trusting. And that's what I told everyone, that if I'm putting my trust into a company and collaborating with them, that means I believe in your product.
Yeah.
Another question I had for you is, tell me one instance where Prodigy went distance for its customers, for its students.
So I did, as an operations service leader, that's a big part of my job. Telling you one story, it's almost impossible to pick. We deal with plenty every week. I'll tell you one quick one. I had a student last year that back around, I think it was September, October, she came through to us and she said she was just completed her first year. She had pre-approved funding with us for second year as well. So we were going to fund her MPP right through. She's studying in the US, and she decided...
So what's that? What's MPP?
It's a Master's in Public Policy.
Okay.
And then she wanted to, so she obviously wanted to finish that, and she decided halfway through, her marks were so good, the school offered her a scholarship as well. It wasn't enough to cover the full second year. And then she decided she wanted to do a dual degree. So she wanted to do an MBA alongside a Master's in Public Policy, which then makes the degree 3 years. And we have to give her additional funding and support the school. And we couldn't give her additional funding, and we didn't support the school. Her being in that situation, she would have had to stop and go back home.
Right.
We had to take about, I think it was 4 or 5 departments all had to come together. We had to build this, work with the school, make sure that we disperse the funds to the MPP and to the MBA, the different schools at the same university, which are different states. So there's a lot of moving parts where the entire business comes together to work on this one case, to make this happen for one student. And then we have to fund it ourselves, and we actually can't use the investors' money because it's out of policy. And that's really where we go over and above. This happens 4 or 5 times a week on average.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of stories maybe for the next video. No, that is great. International students are in such a critical place when it comes, because it's not their country. They do not have the relationships. Everything is so expensive. So even if you get into a small trouble, it's a lot of money to move around. Let's talk about international students. I know I talk a little bit about that in my workshops. Why international students play a very critical role in the US?
Diversity is very, very key when going to study overseas. Colleges want to fill a class, especially when it's an MBA. They want to fill a class that you can share stories and feed off each other and grow each other. So when coming from all over the world, you have students coming from East Asia, West Asia, America, Africa, Australia, and that really, you share those stories, the diversity, it's great to have in the class. And it's the same thing in the country. The US want the graduates of all around the world to graduate in the US and work in the US, and then also further grow their country. And I think every country around the world is the same. I don't know if Pratish would like to add something
on that.
to that.
Yeah, Mike, I think you spoke my mind on that. Just having worked in an admissions committee for a top business school here in India, cohort diversity is one of the most important things for the school. So it's only an upward scale when it's come to masters or post graduations in the last 3 or 4 decades. And not only for the school, I think even for the country. And if you look at the numbers and if you look at the economy on how much it actually contributes to that specific geography, not only in the US, international students and just study abroad in general has always been a trending facet. If I had to just go back 3 years in time, this was something that was told to me. A classroom or a cohort is as good as how diverse it is. And this is, I think, something that top MBA schools do believe it. And I now know even that MS schools follow this model quite religiously.
Pratish, you have been with Prodigy for almost 3 years now. What do you like working with Prodigy? What's the different thing Prodigy does which other lenders do not do?
I think there are a lot of things when it comes to the product part. There are a lot of USPs, which is unique selling points. But without getting too salesy and business, I think at least from my time here in 3 cycles, like you rightly mentioned, it's the people. So even if you look at our operations here in India and you look at the team over here, we're not your typical loan agents, or we're not your bank officers trying to sell your product. We all come with a backing. So for example, I worked for the Indian School of Business. The current country head is an IESE graduate. I think you met Amelia. She's an LBS graduate. A lot of our associates come from top Indian schools such as IIT Delhi, BITS, NIT, and so on, right? So even if you look at the people behind Prodigy across offices, our recruitment model is super strong. We not only stem from the fact that our founder, as Mike mentioned, went through the same challenges 12 years ago, the team backing, so that's 150 to 200 plus colleagues, have the portfolio, the resources, and the talent to solve this problem together. Right. So I would say that definitely puts us as a differentiator, not only in terms of product, but even in terms of a company. I'll let Mike probably add a bit more on the product side of things, on how we are different.
Sure. Thanks, Pratish. So obviously there's things that we do that a lot of the other lenders and loan providers or banks don't do. Like we don't ask for anything up front. There's no fee up front. We charge a once-off admin fee, which is built into your loan. We're also very upfront with all the costs, all the everything that basically ties into the loan agreement is there for you to read. There's nothing that comes later. We also have no collateral, no co-signer, and those are the highlights. I think for the back end of things, when you actually start repaying your loan, we have no penalties if you want to repay your loan early. And yeah, I think that covers most of it.
The one thing I love about Prodigy is like there's no agents, or it doesn't take time, or it's an online model. It's not like you can convince to give a student less interest rate. So there's all of these friction which is taken away.
Correct.
The only thing which matters to Prodigy is like that the student should have the money to fund their education.
Exactly.
That's the important part. And again, the team is coming from all these great universities. So you guys understand what's going on with the students, what's their mindset, what they need. So thanks for doing what you do. And thanks for making people's dream come true in a way. Yeah.
Thanks for having me. And yeah, I hope we can do more of these.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Yeah, doing another video, All right, guys.